Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really cutting straight to the heart of something I think a lot of us want, becoming a genuinely confident English speaker. We've spent time digging through our notes, especially insights from mastering English, shadowing, mindset, and conversation to, bring you the core stuff. This isn't about just like revisiting grammar rules or scrolling endless vocab lists again. Think of this more as a shortcut. We're delivering the key insights into how language learning really works to build that fluency and confidence. We're looking for those, surprising bits and practical strategies that get you from knowing the rules to actually using the language.
Yeah, and we get it. The amount of information out there, you feel like trying to drink from a fire hose, right?
Yeah.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to pull out those crucial nuggets, the things that actually matter when you're practicing. We want to give you those aha moments, basically,
Right.
guiding you towards becoming confident in English by focusing on steps you can actually take, not just theories.
Okay, so let's jump right in. There's one fundamental truth that, it seems to underpin everything in our notes today. It sounds simple, maybe even obvious, but it's often missed when people chase perfection. And it's this. To become a confident English speaker, you have to speak.
Exactly. It sounds simple, but actually doing it.
That's the hard part.
Right, it's the foundation. And for many, just starting to speak, that's a huge hurdle. And that's where this technique, shadowing, comes in as, almost a secret weapon, according to our research. It's framed as this unique kind of guided practice, a way to build comfort without the immediate pressure of a live conversation.
And what's really interesting about shadowing, reading through the material, is that it's not just repeating words back. It's deeper than that. It's about copying the feeling, the energy, the actual music of English. The source calls it the rhythm of the language.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like feeling the heartbeat of a sentence. You know how some words get more emphasis, more power, and others are softer, quicker.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning that natural dance.
And that rhythm piece is so important. The insight here is why. It's often called the hidden code of fluency. When you get that rhythm right, your speech just sounds more natural, smoother. It's not just about correct grammar anymore. Plus, it actually helps you understand better, too. Your ear gets trained to hear the music, not just isolated words.
Yeah.
Makes it easier to follow native speakers. Now, the source material we looked at uses a British accent, which is a nice, clear, sort of melodic rhythm. But the real focus isn't the specific accent. It's those core skills.
Yeah.
Stressing the right words, getting the flow of phrases, modulating your voice. That applies to any accent.
Yeah, good point. And as you start this, there's this sort of golden rule that pops up in the notes. Consistent small steps are more powerful than one giant leap once a month. So if you feel awkward practicing, and you probably will at first.
Everyone does.
Right. Just remember, every mistake is just a sign that you were trying. And trying is how we grow. It's about progress, definitely not perfection.
Okay, with that mindset, what's the very first step in this practice? Our notes suggest starting with warming up those English muscles. It begins with a set of simple sentences. And the focus isn't just saying them right, but really embracing positive thoughts and feeling the words. Things like, today's a new day, or I start with a positive thought. Making them part of how you feel.
Mm-hmm. And once you've built up that basic muscle memory, the next phase, the next step on the journey is about connecting those simple sentences, making things a bit more fluid. This part uses slightly longer sentences that link two ideas together naturally. And this is where you start moving towards what the source calls the real magic of sounding natural, which is connected speech.
Ah, yes, connected speech. We've all heard it, right? How native speakers seem to just flow words together. The material describes it like a beautiful string of pearls, not separate beads with pauses in between.
Right, not robotic. Exactly. And it really digs into how you practice that. For example, in a phrase like, my mind is open to learning new things, you notice how the odd sound at the end of mind almost blends into the I of is. Mind is.
Mind is open. Yeah.
It creates that smooth, effortless link.
So how do you actually practice getting that flow? The source talks about thought groups. These are like little clusters of words that form a single idea or meaning.
Oh,
And the breakthrough is if you start listening for these groups when you hear English, it really helps your understanding. And then practicing saying them in those groups, that can revolutionize your own fluency.
yeah.
So that example again, my mind is open to learning new things. There's a tiny, almost invisible pause or break there between the groups.
Not after every single word.
Exactly.
Okay, so this kind of stretching, as the Knights call it, it's not about making yourself super uncomfortable. It's about getting into the learning zone, that sweet spot, where you're challenged, you're growing, but you're not totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And the goal is still practice, not perfection. You're just getting used to that more natural rhythm.
Yeah.
Other examples in the material show this, like every day is a new chance to practice, or speaking helps me remember new phrases. You can hear how the words just sort of melt together.
Now, maybe the most important insights from our deep dive revolve around mindset. This was really emphasized. It stresses that what you believe about yourself, your internal dialogue, it's not just a nice extra. It's the actual fuel for your entire English journey. And this is where these powerful positive affirmations come into play. They're designed literally to train your mind while you're training your mouth.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. There's a psychological concept mentioned, the affective filter. It's described as this invisible wall that just goes up when you feel stressed or anxious or just, feeling bad about your English skills.
Performance anxiety again.
Exactly. And when that wall's up, learning gets blocked. Simple as that. But flip side, when you're relaxed, feeling confident, positive, that wall comes down and suddenly your brain, as the material puts it, becomes like a sponge, ready to soak things up.
And what's really fascinating is how speaking these affirmations is suggested as a way to directly tackle that filter.
Yeah.
Saying things like, every word I learn is a step forward, or I enjoy the process of learning English, or even, I believe in my ability to succeed.
I am building a bridge to a new culture. That's a powerful one, too.
Yeah. These aren't just happy thoughts. They're sending direct messages to your brain, actively rewiring it, helping you build that confidence from the inside out. The key seems to be not just saying them, but really trying to embody them, believing them.
Right. So, okay, we've built this foundation, private practice with shadowing, working on rhythm, and crucially cultivating this positive mindset. But here's the big question, the one that, it probably haunts a lot of learners.
The bridge.
Yeah. How do you actually carry that confidence and that positive feeling outside your practice space into real life? Because let's be honest, that performance gap is real. That feeling where all the English you practice just vanishes when you're actually talking to someone.
It really does. And that's exactly where our notes introduce the idea of needing the right equipment to cross that bridge from practice to, actual application.
Yeah.
And the first absolutely vital piece of equipment is your mindset before you even start a conversation. The argument is you need to change your internal mission radically. So instead of that goal that cripples so many people, perform perfectly, don't make mistakes, impress the other person.
Which is impossible. Right.
Totally impossible. Instead, the source pushes for something much more freeing, connection, not perfection.
Hmm.
Think about it.
Hmm.
A conversation is successful if you exchange an idea or information, or even just a feeling. Even you say, like, where is train station? Missing the. Did the other person understand? Yes. Then connection happened. Success.
That's a huge shift. And to really embed that, you're encouraged to adopt what's called a scientist's mindset, viewing every single conversation not as a test you can pass or fail, but as an experiment. You're just gathering data.
Interesting data.
Right. A failed result isn't failure, it's just interesting data for your next experiment, next conversation. It takes so much pressure off.
It really does. Okay, so you've got this new mission, connection over perfection. You're a scientist. Where do you actually go to run these experiments?
To practice, the source lays out this really practical ladder of options, finding what it calls shallow pools for English conversation, places where you can start safe, low stakes, and then gradually dial up the challenge when you feel ready.
So level one on this ladder is called the digital sandbox. This is all asynchronous practice, no real-time pressure. We're talking simple steps, like maybe writing a short comment in English on a YouTube video you watched, or joining an online forum like the English Learning subreddit mentioned, and just participating a little, getting comfortable producing English somewhere safe. And a really powerful tool here is using voice notes on apps like Tandem or WhatsApp or whatever you use. This is gold because you're using your speaking muscles, practicing rhythm and intonation. But crucially, you can re-record it before you hit send.
Ha, okay. Take the pressure off.
Exactly. It's like the perfect bridge between silent practice and live speaking. You get comfortable with your own voice first.
Makes sense. Okay, climbing the ladder, level 2 is the rehearsal room. This is about guided, structured live practice. This is where things like language exchange partners come in, using apps like Tandem or HelloTalk. And the advice here is smart. Set expectations clearly. Maybe say, hey, can we just do a short 5-minute call? Mistakes are totally okay.
Lowers the stakes for both people.
Right. And maybe prepare a little starter pack of easy questions. Keep those first calls short, like 5 or 10 minutes. You want it to feel good, so you'll do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And other options here, which are more like investments but can really pay off, are online tutors. Places like italki or Cambly. Or even finding local conversation clubs if they exist where you are. These are fantastic because they're designed to be supportive. Everyone's there to learn.
Good point. Okay, finally, level 3, the real world. This is the main event, right? And the advice is to start small here too. Begin with short transactional interactions, things that are pretty predictable. The classic example given is the coffee shop scenario. Ordering a coffee. The script is usually quite simple, quite direct.
Yeah, you know what to expect.
The focus is...
And these kinds of asking for something simple scenarios, asking for milk in a shop, buying a ticket, they seem small, but they're foundational. Sure. Every single time you do one successfully, no matter how basic, it's like adding another brick in your wall of confidence. You're proving to yourself you can do it.
I like that. Building the wall brick by brick. Okay, but even with all this prep, the mindset shift, the practice, there will be moments, inevitably, where your mind just goes blank.
Oh, yeah. Happens to everyone.
Or you just don't understand what someone said. Our deep dive notes say these moments aren't failures, they're cues to use your in-conversation toolkit.
Exactly. Tools, not failures. And one set of crucial tools are the buying time phrases. Things like, that's a good question, or let me think about that for a moment.
Simple but effective.
Very. They signal you're still engaged, you're listening, but crucially, they buy your brain a few precious seconds to process or find the words.
Okay, and what about when communication actually breaks down? When you didn't understand? There's the clarity kit. You can just politely say, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you say it again, please?
Perfectly normal thing to say.
Or you could ask directly, what does the word they used mean? No shame in that. But the real superpower in this kit, according to the notes, is rephrasing. Saying something like, so if I understand correctly, you're saying that. And then you try to put what you think they said into your own words.
That's brilliant. It clarifies for you and it shows them you're really trying to understand, build connection. This brings up another common problem.
Yeah.
What if the word you need just disappears?
Yeah.
Your vocabulary fails you for a second.
Happens all the time.
Right. The word finder strategy suggests don't just stop talking. Instead, describe the word you can't find. The example uses a glaglet. You know, the little plastic tip on a shoelace?
Oh, yeah. Never knew the word.
Most people don't. So if you forget it, you just say, the little plastic thing on the end of a shoelace.
And the other person will probably know what you mean.
Exactly. Or they might even supply the word for you. It's actually an amazing communication skill, not a failure of vocabulary, and it keeps the conversation flowing.
Okay, this is all great for during the conversation. But the material also stresses that what happens after is just as important for growth, maybe even more so. It talks about needing to actively fight our brain's tendency to just zoom in on all the mistakes we made.
Yeah, that negativity bias. It's strong. So this is where the win log comes in. Simple but powerful idea. Right after a conversation, any conversation, you write down just one thing that went well. Seriously, just one. Could be tiny. I didn't panic. Or I understood the barista. Or I used that new phrase.
Forces you to see the positive.
Precisely. It forces your brain to acknowledge success, however small, and it builds this habit over time of actually seeing your progress, not just the stumbles.
Love that. Then there's the curiosity follow-up. This is about capturing any new words or phrases you heard. Like, if someone said it was a bit nippy outside, meaning a little cold.
You didn't know nippy.
Right. You jot that down in your curiosity journal or wherever you keep new vocab. It connects the real-world conversation directly back to your personal learning system. Helps make it stick.
Yeah, bridges that gap again. And finally, to really kind of wrap up each interaction and cement the learning, you finish with your anchor sentence. Yeah. This is something you say out loud to yourself. It's about self-compassion, reminding yourself that whatever happened, however it felt, it was just practice. Practice on an exciting journey. It wasn't some final judgment.
Take some pressure off again. It's all practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, look, we've just laid out a pretty comprehensive roadmap here, haven't we? Taking you all the way from that initial private practice through mindset shifts, finding safe places to speak, tools for in the conversation, and even rituals for after.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to take in. We covered a lot of ground. But please don't feel overwhelmed by it all. Remember that key principle we mentioned earlier.
Consistent, small steps.
That's the one. Maybe just pick one tiny goal for this week. Just one. Maybe it's leaving that one comment on a video, or sending one voice note, or trying the win log after ordering coffee. That alone is a huge win because what you're doing step by step is building skills, yes, but also building that mindset, building that courage. You're fanning that flame inside you, getting ready for the next stage of your English adventure, and you should feel really good about that effort.
Absolutely. And maybe here's a final thought, something for you to just mull over. How could you intentionally weave one of these little micro habits we talked about, like maybe the anchor sentence after a short interaction, or trying to switch your inner monologue to English for just 2 minutes into a totally normal, mundane part of your day? How could you turn, I don't know, washing the dishes or waiting for the bus into a hidden moment of English practice and confidence building?
Ooh, I like that. Sneaking in the practice. Well, we are definitely looking forward to our next deep dive. We'll be moving on to day 3 from the source material. And that's where we'll explore how to take this foundation, the rhythm, the confidence, and apply it to something really practical. Storytelling, just narrating simple events or memories in English. So thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Keep fanning that flame, keep practicing, and enjoy your exciting English journey.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something that's, well, it's way more than just getting a new stamp in your passport or changing your address for a bit. In this super connected world we live in, choosing to study abroad, it isn't just another option anymore. It feels like a genuinely transformative opportunity.
It really, really is. We're talking about a journey that it doesn't just shift your perspective or help you build skills, though it does that too.
Right.
It genuinely unlocks a whole new realm of possibilities, both personally and, for your career down the line.
And what's fascinating is this idea, it feels so current, so now.
Yeah, vibrant.
But it actually has pretty deep historical roots, doesn't it?
It does. This isn't something that just popped up. International education, it's evolved steadily. You had those early exchange programs like the Rhodes Scholarship back in the early 20th century.
A long history.
And that's grown into this incredibly diverse, massive landscape we see today. The desire to learn beyond your home borders, it's just gotten stronger and stronger.
And the numbers really show that, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. The scale is it's remarkable.
Get this. Just in 2022, UNESCO stats showed over 6 million students were studying tertiary education outside their home countries.
6 million. That's huge. Like a whole nation of students taking that leap.
Exactly. And it's not just staying flat.
No, it keeps climbing. Year after year, globalization, easier access to information, it all fuels it.
It makes the world feel smaller in a way, but also richer in terms of educational choices.
Precisely. Smaller yet richer. A bit of a paradox, but true.
Okay, so for this deep dive, our mission is pretty clear. We want to cut through all the information, all the noise out there about studying abroad. We want to pull out the really crucial stuff about the benefits, but also the challenges, give you a really clear picture of what to expect, especially maybe if you're looking to really sharpen your English skills.
Exactly. We'll look at the benefits from all angles, the academic side, the cultural immersion, that big personal growth piece. But just as vital, we need to look honestly at the real hurdles, like the financial side, which can be tricky, and culture shock. People sometimes underestimate that one.
Definitely.
So the aim here is to equip you, the listener, with insights, some practical advice, maybe some compelling stories, so you can make a really informed decision. Because it is a life-changing thing.
Whether you're dreaming of Oxford or Tokyo or maybe Sydney.
Wherever it might be. We want to shine a light on the rewards, yes, but also the realities.
Okay, so with that amazing growth, what's actually driving this? What's the pull for all these students?
It's really varied, Everyone has their own reasons, their own
For
aspirations.
some, I guess it's just purely about the academics, right? Getting the best education possible.
That's definitely a big one. They're actively looking for those world-class institutions, Stanford for innovation, the
Mm.
Sorbonne in Paris for that deep intellectual tradition.
University of Melbourne, maybe?
Yeah, for dynamic research, they're drawn by the idea of cutting-edge research, getting access to top professors, being in a really challenging academic environment that pushes them.
But it can't all be hitting the books, surely.
Oh, absolutely not. For loads of others, it's just the sheer thrill of it, the adventure of living somewhere totally new.
Right. Exploring a new culture, new
Yeah.
food.
Exactly. Trying different foods, seeing amazing landscapes you've only seen online or in books. It's that innate sense of discovery.
Right.
Just embracing the unknown.
That sense of wonder.
Yeah. And it's interesting how these personal dreams line up with these bigger global trends we're seeing.
You mentioned the numbers earlier. Explosive growth.
It really has been. The number of international students, it's more than doubled in just the last 20 years or so.
Wow. That's huge. So where are people flocking to? Is it still the same old places?
Well, yes and no. The traditional big players, the US, UK, Australia, Canada, they're still very popular, definitely.
Mm.
But we are seeing some interesting shifts. Places like Germany and China, too, they're really starting to attract large numbers of students.
Okay, why Germany or China? What's the specific appeal there?
Well, they offer different things. Germany, for example, has this massive draw with its tuition-free public universities.
Free tuition.
Yeah,
That's a game changer for many, I imagine.
absolutely. High-quality education without that huge financial weight you see elsewhere. It's a major factor.
Are there hidden catches, though? Like, the program's mostly in German, or is it hard to, integrate?
Good question. A lot of programs are in German, yes, but there's a growing number taught in English, especially for masters and PhDs. Integration, yeah, it probably takes more effort from the student than in, say, the UK, but that zero tuition cost, it's a powerful pull.
Which I...
China's made these huge strategic investments in cutting edge STEM programs, science, tech, engineering, math. So if you're tech focused, looking for that really specialized, globally competitive education, China's becoming a major destination.
Okay, so it's not just about the name brand anymore. It's diversifying. People are looking for specific things.
That's a really key point. It shows how global education is changing. You have more options now to find a really specific academic fit. Many students are hunting for those highly specialized programs that just aren't offered or aren't as strong back home.
Like what kind of niche things?
Well, imagine you're passionate about, say, tropical marine biology, where better than Australia, you've got the Great Barrier Reef right there, unique ecosystems. It's almost essential.
Can't beat that classroom.
Exactly. Or maybe you're into the absolute cutting edge of artificial intelligence. Singapore has really positioned itself as a global hub for AI research. Fantastic industry links. It's about finding that specific expertise.
And beyond the specific subjects, there's also just that human desire, isn't there? To learn a new language, to get those cross-cultural skills that are so valuable now.
Definitely. Or sometimes it's simpler, just wanting to experience daily life somewhere else, to really get what it means to live, work, connect in a different cultural setting. It's a holistic thing, expanding your horizons personally and intellectually.
And connecting back to the bigger idea, choosing to study abroad, it's often about seeking out that potential for real transformation, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's about deliberately stepping outside your comfort zone, because that's where the real personal growth tends to happen.
The uncomfortable being uncomfortable, yeah.
Pretty much. The whole experience challenges your assumptions, things you might not even realize you assumed. about society, success, even how a classroom should work. It just cultivates a broader, more nuanced view of the world.
Can you give an example? What does that actually look like for a student on the ground?
Sure. Think about maybe a student from Brazil studying in France. Suddenly, they're immersed in centuries of European art history, seeing masterpieces firsthand. It's a total revelation, changes how they see things. Or maybe a Canadian student in Japan, seeing how super advanced technology mixes with really deep-rooted traditions. It gives you these profound insights. They're not just academic points, they're personal discoveries that reshape how you see the world.
It's interesting how social media plays into this now. It adds another layer, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, they've just amplified the visibility of studying abroad like never before.
You see the pictures, the videos.
Exactly. Shared stories, amazing photos, those relatable little videos from people your age all over the world. It creates this really powerful pull. You see someone hiking Machu Picchu or at Oktoberfest or just chatting easily in Spanish.
And you think, I want that.
Yeah, it sparks curiosity, that desire for the same kind of growth, the same adventure. It's very visual, very immediate, very personal inspiration.
Okay, let's shift gears then and really dig into the benefits. Why is taking this leap so worthwhile for so many?
Right. Well, first off, you've got the clear academic gains. Studying abroad gives you access to some truly world-class universities and programs.